The Kidnapped King by Ron Roy. Chapter 11. Let's find out what happens. The three kids slid Sammy out of the cart and laid him gently on the floor, while Dink and Josh worked on the knots. Ruth Rose pulled away his gag. Before Sammy could speak, Pal waddled over and covered his face with wet dog kisses. Sammy gave Pal a big hug, then he sneezed. They all jumped when the elevator door slid open and Joan Clinker stepped out. When he saw Sammy and the man on the floor, her face turned as white as the sheets. You found Sammy. Joan Clinker rushed to his side. Ain't that cute, the man on the floor said. Well, I ain't taking the rap alone. She's the one planning the whole thing. We done it together. What are you talking about? Joan said. I never seen this man in my life. The man let out a cackle. What a lousy thing to say about your own husband, he said. Just then, the elevator door slid open. Dink's mother and Officer Fallon stepped out into the hallway. Well, Officer Fallon said. Good thing I brought 2 pairs of handcuffs. An hour later, Joan Clinker and her husband, Nick, were in jail. Mr. Linkletter went back to finish eating his donuts. Dink, Josh, and Pal, Ruth Rose, Sammy, and Dink's mom joined Officer Fallon in the police station. You were pretty clever to have that trail of yellow glass. Leave that trail of yellow glass, Officer Fallon told Sammy. Thank you, Sammy said. I hope Dink would remember that French word for yellow sounds like jaune. I did remember, Dink said, but Josh's dog was the one who found most of the glass. Josh beamed and patted Pal's head. Good dog, he said. Well, Miss Clinker and her husband sat like little birds. Officer Fallon said they planned this thing carefully. After they stashed Sammy in the closet upstairs, they brought one of his slipper tassels to the river to throw us off the trail. I heard them talking in the car, Sammy said. They were going to take me back to Costra. I would have disappeared, just like my parents. Then my father's enemies would have taken over our country. Dink looked at his mom. How did you know we were at the hotel? He asked. Well, I met Joan outside Ellie's. 3 weeks later, Dink's mother, outside of Ellie's, Dink's mother said. She said she was happy to be out of the hotel and suggested we go for a walk. Naturally, we talked about the kidnapping, and she mentioned Sammy's slipper tassel being found at the river, which she shouldn't have known about, right? Said Ruth Rose. Dink's mother smiled. Right. And when I happened to mention the trail of yellow glass, she suddenly hurried away. She said she had something important to do at the hotel. So I came right here to see Officer Fallon. Officer Fallon smiled at the 3 kids, but by the time we got to the hotel, you 3 had everything under control. Just then, Officer Fallon's computer said, You've got mail. I've been waiting for this email, he said. He moved his computer mouse, clicked twice, and smiled. You should all hear this, so I'll read it out loud. The King and Queen of Costra have been found, thanks to your tip. They are alive and well. Both send love to their son. Want him to come home immediately. Everyone in the office cheered. Sammy looked shocked, and then he beamed. But how did you find them? He asked Officer Fallon. Your kidnappers spilled the beans, he said. They were hired by the same guys who kidnapped your parents. They gave me names and places, so I just emailed the Costrian police. The next day, Dink, Josh, Pal, and Ruth Rose said goodbye to Sammy. Each of the kids gave him a wrapped gift. Pal's gift for Sammy was a big wet lick on the cheek. Sammy smiled and sneezed. 3 weeks later, a large package arrived at Dink's house. It was from Costra and addressed to all 3 kids. Dibs on the cool stamps, Josh said. Dink opened the parcel and found 4 smaller packages labeled Dink, Josh, Ruth Rose, and Pal. Dink and Josh found small gold kaleidoscopes in their packages. Their names were spelled out on the sides with tiny rubies. What'd he send you? Josh asked Ruth Rose. Oh my gosh, she screamed and held up a dark blue robe just like Sammy's. Here's a picture and a note, Dink said. He read the note out loud. The picture showed Sammy wearing the gifts the kids had given him. Ruth Rose's sweatshirt, Josh's jeans, and Dink's baseball cap. Suddenly, Pal let out a woof. He wants us to open his package, Josh said. He helped Pal rip off the paper. Inside, they found a purple velvet doggy sweater. Good Dog had been stitched into the velvet with gold thread. And This here, the letter that Sammy sent, said, "Dear friends, I miss you. My father says you can come here and visit someday. You can even bring Pal, your friend, Sammy bin Oz." The end. And these are just some other A to Z mystery books.